Hello, sir. Today I will discuss about the Erikson Psychosocial Theory of Development. First, kilalanin muna natin kung sino nga ba si Erikson. Erikson was an ego psychologist. He emphasized the role of culture in society and the conflicts that can take place within the ego itself. Erikson maintained that the personality develops in a predetermined order and builds upon each previous stage. This is called the epigenetic principle. Erikson proposed an 8 stages of psychosocial development. As you can see in the illustration, there are 8 psychosocial development. The first is the trust versus mistrust. The second is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. Initiative versus guilt. Next is the industry versus inferiority. Next is the identity versus rule confusion. Next is the intimacy versus isolation. And next is the generativity and stagnation. And lastly is the integrity versus despair. Ayun. According to him, the psychosocial stages assumes that the crisis occurs at each stage of development and they are of the psychosocial nature. Successful completion of each stage leads to a healthy personality and acquisition of basic virtues, while failure to complete the stage successfully can lead to inhibition and completion of other stage and an unhealthy personality. Now we will talk about the first stage. First stage is the trust versus mistrust. This is the stage takes place during the first year of life or so. The infant looks towards the caregiver for stability as he or she is unaware of the world. If the infant receives care which is reliable and consistent, then a sense of trust is available, and in harsh and inconsistent care, mistrust is developed. Kapag po successful po siya dito sa stage na to, success in this stage will lead to a virtue of hope. Ayan. Now let's go to the second stage. The second stage is the autonomy versus shame. This is a stage which lasts between the ages of 18 months and 3. The child learns to play with toys, wear their clothes themselves, etc., thus discovering their skills in attaining independence and autonomy. If the children are encouraged in this stage, they become confident and secure in their ability. If they are discouraged, they lack self-esteem and feel a sense of shame. Successful in this stage will lead to the virtue of will. Ayun, And now, let's go to the third stage of psychosocial development. The third stage was the initiative versus guilt. This is the stage around the ages 3 continuing to 5 where children assert themselves more frequently. Children make friends, plan activities, allowing them to develop a sense of initiative and developing their abilities to lead others. If the children are criticized or controlled, they may become followers and develop a sense of guilt and may feel like a nuisance to others. Success in this stage will lead to a virtue of purpose. The fourth stage of psychosocial development is the industry or confidence versus inferiority. Children are aged 5 to 12 years in this stage are learning to read, write, do sums, etc. The child's peer group creates a significant source of the child's self-esteem. If they are encouraged for their initiative, they feel industrious and confident to achieve their goals. If the opposite happens, they begin to feel inferior and doubt their own abilities and not reach their potential. Kapag naging successful naman po ang isang child sa stage na to, it will lead to confidence. And now, let's go to the fifth stage of psychosocial development. The ego identity and role confusion. This is a stage during adolescence, such as age 12 to 18 years old. Children begin to look at future in terms of career, relationships, family, etc. The adolescent re-examines their identity and figure out what their who or he she is. He says that the adolescents may feel uncomfortable about their body till until they can adapt the changes. Rule confusion involves the individual not being sure about themselves or their place in the society. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of fidelity. The sixth stage of psychosocial development is the intimacy versus isolation. This stage occurs during young adulthood, such as ages 18 to 40 years old, where we begin to share ourselves more intimately with others. Successful completion in this stage can lead to a comfortable relationship, a sense of commitment, safety and care, etc. Avoiding this stage can lead to isolation, loneliness, and sometimes depression. Success in this stage will lead to a virtue of love. Of love. Now, let's go to the seventh stage of the psychosocial development. The seventh stage is the generativity versus stagnation. This stage occurs during middle adulthood, such as ages 40 to 65 years old. We establish a career, develop relationships, begin families, etc. We give back to society by raising our children, being productive at work, and becoming involved in community service, etc. Successful in this stage will lead to the virtue of care. And now let's move to the last stage of the psychosocial development. The last stage or the eighth stage of psychosocial development is the ego integrity versus despair. This occurs at the age of 65 plus, where we become senior citizens and we tend to slow down our productivity and explore life as a retired person. If we see ourselves or our life as productive, successful, we are able to develop integrity. If we see ourselves unhappy and are dissatisfied with the goals we have achieved, we develop despair, hopelessness, and can become depressed. Successful in this stage leads to the virtue of wisdom. And lastly, I will add some strengths and limitations of this theory. The strengths of the theory, it provides a broad framework which shows the development throughout the entire lifespan. It also allows us to emphasize the social nature of human beings and the important influence that social relationships have on development. The limitations of this theory is he is a vague about the causes of development. Erikson does not explicitly explain how the outcome of one's psychosocial stages influence personality at a later stage. The theory fails to detail exactly what type of experiences are necessary at each stage in order to successfully resolve the conflicts and move to the next stage. That's all, and thank you.